welcome to another episode of Paranormal the New Normal. I'm your host, as always, Jeremy. Here trying to make the world a little more normal. And guess what, guys? I actually get to do that today. Yay! Because this is a topic that, now before we even get started, I just want to say this is a paranormal topic in a way, because it's hypnosis, and hypnosis we've had in the show before. It's a paranormal topic, it's a spiritual topic, which fits in the fold. So just want to make sure all my paranormal fans know that this fits in the fold. I don't want to hear about it. Just saying. But let me introduce my guest, though, who is going to help me make this episode normal, actually. And that is Kim Witner, who is a erotic hypnosis expert. And yes, you heard me right. But first things first, how you doing tonight, Kim?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me tonight.
My pleasure. I have been looking forward to this episode for weeks. So this is right up my alley. As any of my fans who really know me, they know this is up my alley, and they all know me by now. They have to. But let me just ask my first question is usually a little different than this, but what got you into this, down this road? Like, what led to it?
Absolutely nothing led to it. I was house sitting for my friend in West Virginia. She had gone to Florida to visit her brother. And I was just sitting alone with all of her kitties, just scrolling through the internet. And I saw this video that said, erotic hypnosis for hands-free orgasm. And I thought to myself, well, isn't that interesting? And I just went right on by. And then I started to think about the power of our minds and how much our minds, if we rein them in and focus them where we want to go, they can help us create just about anything. So I had gone back to that hypnosis video several times before I actually clicked on it. And that's how I discovered it.
Well, the greatest things in life are discovered on the internet. So I will 100% say that makes sense. It does make sense, especially with this topic. So how did you become an expert in it? I guess that's where I'm kind of like trying to get to.
Well, because I had utilized it to the point where I completely turned my life around. You know how everyone says, oh, you have everything you need within you deep inside yourself, right? You're always told that, but they never tell you how to find that. And through participating in the hypnosis sessions, I was able to find myself, and I healed from things that I had long been suffering from, was able to give forgiveness that I had long been looking to give, and so much more like that. So
interesting.
And then I met other women who were utilizing it, and I found out that they too had healed from various things. And of course, the hands-free orgasm was something that worked for me almost immediately. And so many of them were trying so hard to achieve that they were actually making it harder to achieve. So I was mentoring them, and I thought, you know what? I have a business here that I could help these women learn how to experience this, especially since so many women are not experiencing orgasm, generally speaking.
Well, I mean, that is a very true statistic, I've been told and I've read. But I mean, personally, I've never met a woman who couldn't. But at least at least as far as they told me. I mean, right. Of course, as a man, you're only told so much of the truth. So about that topic, especially. So, but I mean, well, does it only work for women? That's actually the first question that came to mind. Does it only work for women?
No, it also works for men. This particular hypnotist does cater and create for women. There are some ladies who do create for men.
Interesting.
Yes.
And I mean, the idea of a hands-free orgasm is just, to me, almost unbelievable.
I know.
I literally told my wife about 10 minutes ago that I was, okay, like 25 minutes ago now, that I was talking about this topic tonight. And she's like, one, how's that paranormal? And two, really?
Yes.
So it's all mental, I'm assuming. It's all a mental process, like obviously if it's hands-free.
Yes.
Do people need to have a certain amount of mental control before they do this, like meditation and all that?
Well, it does help to get into a relaxed state first. Whether you use meditation, and hypnosis is very similar to meditation, but you could use meditation before you try to use a session, and you can use breath work or whatever relaxes you. If it's yoga, whatever it is that relaxes you and gets you into your mind. I like using breath work because when you're concentrating and focused on your breath, it's really difficult to be thinking about anything else but except for the fact that you're breathing and how fast you're breathing and how deeply you're breathing. So anything that gets you into that relaxed state so you can engage with the hypnosis.
Interesting. And I mean, I've talked to hypnotists before, but I would be lying if I said this wasn't the most. I mean, I thought a pet hypnotist was something special, but this is a whole nother realm beyond that. And so, how does it help you heal, though? Like that's like how does it help people heal? Besides the
Okay,
obvious.
so what I discovered is when I first found this hypnosis, I found that I couldn't get enough of it at first. And thank God I was at my friend's house by myself and had nothing else to do but listen to this hypnosis for hours on end, because that's exactly what I did. And I was getting a little concerned that I couldn't get enough of it. And so I started delving into other things to research what is going on with me. I did not know. And what I had come to find is that my sexual energy had been completely depleted. And I also learned that it's very closely related to your creative energy. Think about it. Sex is life force energy. It creates life. It is your creative energy. So that made a whole lot of sense to me. And the first thing that returned to me that same week I discovered it was my joy. I noticed that I felt so much lighter and happier, and I would laugh at funny things so much more easily than I used to. And in a month later, I rediscovered music. I could not understand why music had no meaning to me. My husband's a musician, and maybe that was part of it. Hearing him practice is not exactly desirable music, but so my friend would always say how much music helps her to focus and heal and whatever it did for her. And I'm like, I just don't get it. And then I found myself putting music on to shower with. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I started to remember how music used to move me years ago. And so I started listening to music. And a few months after that, I got this desire to paint. And I do have an art degree. So it's not like I'm not a creative. I am. And I just got away from it and I didn't want to do it anymore. And the next thing you know, I was creating again. So what it did for me is it helped me to rediscover myself. It showed me things that I was putting up with that I didn't have to put up with. It helped me see insecurities I had for, I would literally say, decades that I never knew I had until I started rediscovering me. I had never been able to be me. I was an only child. My mother was overbearing, and I had quite a set of rules to follow. And for the first time in my life, I finally feel like I am me. I am the person without all that other junk. I'm finally just me. So I was able to leave all that other garbage behind, and I'm much happier. And I'm doing things I never thought I'd do.
I mean, it sounds life changing. It really does. And it's interesting because my other podcast is a music podcast, and I find that like I enjoy music still, but it's just not the way I once did. Like
Right.
when I was younger and had less worries in the world is the best way to
Mhm.
put it. Like that's the thing, is I think a lot of our lives are bogged down by responsibilities and paying everything on time. And if you have kids, forget about it. That's a whole nother realm. Like
Yes.
that's a whole. I don't know if you can hear them in the background, but that's a whole nother realm of not being able to enjoy what you want to enjoy in life because oh no, I've got to take care of the kids. I can't do what I want to do. I have to worry about them. But I mean, I haven't been to a concert, I don't know, since before COVID. So yeah, that says everything right there. But so I mean, it's just I get it, but how does imaginative play work?
Imaginative play. Okay, so in a hypnosis session, the hypnotist gives you suggestions or says things that are going on. And of course, he does not have control over you. You are completely in control of your own thoughts and minds and morality. You can't be persuaded to do anything beyond your own beliefs and morality. So the suggestions allow you to take those suggestions and create your own scenarios.
Interesting. So kind
It's
of
it's kind of like when a lot of women like to read those nice, juicy romance novels, correct? Because they like to feel that. So the hypnosis session is kind of like that, but instead of reading about the characters, you become one.
it makes sense. Yeah. Because kind of like when women read those romantic little short novels, and then all of a sudden they want to role play in bed that book the
Yes.
next night. And it's like, I don't feel like being a cowboy tonight, sweetie. Sorry, but I'll ride, but I don't feel like pretending you're a horse. Like that's just a little weird to me. Sorry, but but yeah, I personally wish my wife was a little more imaginative, but that's me. But and it works. But I don't know the idea. I honestly want to sign her up for one of these courses just so she could freaking learn some new things in her life because she she has issues. She has happiness issues, and I think something like this would make her happier. But I don't
Yes.
know. I don't know if she has the open mind for it. That's the problem. She doesn't have the open mind for it. She's too insecure and whatnot to really be able to fully embrace it, I believe.
Well, this is what helped me to get rid of those insecurities I had. I did not know what I was getting into when I did this. And gosh, that week I just could not get enough of it. And like I said, I was concerned something was wrong with me, but what was wrong with me is I had lost myself, basically. I just lost myself and I didn't know what I liked and I didn't know what I wanted. And now I do. And now I help others to find that. So we do have on the website, we do have a free PDF to explain about the hypnosis, what it is and what it is not, and also a download of a hypnosis track for her to try.
I'll have to send it to her covertly when I go to work one day. Send it as I'm walking out the door. But because if I'm around, she won't even touch it. She'll be too embarrassed if I'm around to even touch it. But if
I get that. I get that. And that's what's sad. We all need to be more comfortable about talking about sex. I mean, none of us got here without it, right?
yes, but to most people, the thought of their parents in the act to do that grosses them out to no extent. I was created in a lab, kind of, so I don't really have that effect. But the idea of my parents together is a little weird. But I won't say disturbing. But
It's only weird because we're not used to thinking about it and talking about it and making it normal. It's as normal as breathing. It's so important to your well-being.
I agree, and I've always believed that erotic release is one of the most like ways. If you're having a bad day, go take care of yourself in the bedroom for 10 minutes, and you're fine. Like you'll come back out like it releases dopamine. It releases all these chemicals in our brain that helps us focus more. It helps us just relax more. It truly is meant to help us be better people.
Yes. Yes. More peaceful. It's just amazing what it can do, especially when you use it as a type of therapy. It does not replace therapists, and it does not replace your medical professionals,
Of course
but it
not.
is a wonderful, wonderful practice alongside of those things. It's just amazing. And, you know, some of the reason that women don't experience orgasm as much as men do is because a lot of time men don't take time with their partner. A woman is more like one of those wood fire pizza ovens, and a man is more like a microwave. Okay.
I
So
love that. I love that.
if you don't tend to that wood fired oven, the pizza is going to suck. Okay. It just is. So the other thing about that is when men take the time, there's a connection that happens between the two that is so beautiful. And not only is he giving to her, but then she gets to the point where she releases to him. And it's such a beautiful spiritual connection. And it's so peaceful, and there is a flow between the two of you that nurtures one another. It's just amazing.
No, I mean, well, a lot of my listeners may already know this, because I think I had a former porn star on back when I first started the show, named Johnny G, who which we'll get into his topic in a minute, because I actually want to ask what you think about it. But I told him this, so I'm not embarrassed to say it on my show again. I suffered for years from erectile dysfunction at 34. Like, I'm 34 now. From the time I was in my 20s till recently, I suffered from it. And so, I mean, this wasn't a world that I always was secure in because of that issue. But, and so with my wife now, ever since we started we've been together almost 6 years. 6 years next month, officially. We've been together, married almost a year, or maybe 2 now. I should know that. But, oh my God, I should know that. But I think it's almost a year now, maybe 2. God, I don't even remember how long we lived in this house, for God's sake. But podcasting, it takes up all your energy. But so I personally, this is the point I was trying to make. I personally, every time me and my wife have that kind of relationship, I always ask her, like, did you finish? And if the answer is ever no, I make sure she doesn't leave that bed until she does. Because as someone who suffered from that for so long, I was the one not finishing for a long, long time. And it's the worst feeling in the world when you leave unsatisfied or something like that. Right. It's the worst feeling in the world. And I mean, I don't know how many guys can actually say they feel that way, but I personally feel that way. Like, it's just, I experienced it for so long that, like, the girl gets off and leaves, and I'm sitting there like, what the fuck did I waste my time doing? Like, I didn't even get anything out of it. What the fuck? But I mean, that's the way I could reveal my personal experience into it, kind of, is because I've seen that side of it that mostly usually women experience, because most guys whip it out and they finish within whatever time they finish in. Like, it's just not an issue. Right. I mean, I've met someone with the same issue, but it's a rare thing for men my age, at least. I mean, you go to doctors in your 20s and you say, I can't stay hard, and they just literally laugh at you, and they're like, what are you talking about? You're in your 20s. Like, it took literally a female doctor to be like, okay, well, try taking this blue pill and see if it works. Well, guess what? It worked. But I mean, so I 100% agree. Leaving the bedroom dissatisfied is not a good thing. And I understand that. And that's why I always made sure, since I got to that point, that women never leave unsatisfied. And plus, if they leave unsatisfied, unless you're married to them, they're not coming back. And even if you are married to them, they still may not be happy for a long time, and that's going to affect your life. So,
yep.
You like coming home to a clean house and having dinner ready? Yeah, not if you don't make them happy. but like Johnny G, when I had him on back in May or June of last year, he was a practicer of something called spectrophilia. I don't know if you've heard of this, but
no.
Spectrophilia is kind of like what it sounds like. It literally is supposedly having sex with ghosts.
Oh, right. I did hear about that, but I didn't hear the term before.
Yeah, that's the clinical term for it, I would guess would be the best word, or the official term is spectrophilia. And I never heard of it until he came on my show to talk about it for an hour, and I literally had my mind blown, because I'm like, that's possible? Like, I mean, I guess it's more of a mental thing. That's why I think it kind of relates to your area more than like I would than anything else. But because I mean, it has to be a mental thing because you can't feel a ghost. Like you literally cannot feel a ghost. It would feel like wind, I would imagine.
Yeah. I mean, you can feel presence, but I don't know. I can't imagine.
Yeah, I mean, me either. It's really hard to picture.
It is.
I mean, whenever he kept talking about it, I kept thinking of the freaking scene from Scary Movie 2. But that's all I could think about was that one scene. And I'm like, this actually works. He's like, oh yeah. He's like, I've done it. He's like, people want to, or I mean, I think it's also a little bit of role play because he said he's done it for women who lost their husband and stuff like that. And like, he literally plays the role of the husband, but like, they do a full. They have a they have a medium present, or he maybe is a medium to some degree. I don't know, but and like they invoke the spirit of the husband, and the spirit of the husband uses him. Like I don't really understand 100% how it works. I mean, I don't think anybody can understand 100% how that works unless they're doing it. But it's just I wanted to bring it up because there's not many other topics I could cross it over with, but this one seems like one that kind of crosses over with that in a slight way. But personally, I mean, that's just something that came to mind. So, what do you think is the best way for someone to discover their sexual freedom?
To get comfortable talking about it, to get comfortable exploring yourself, your body, knowing your body, what you like, what you don't like. If the hypnosis isn't something that works for you, find something that does, meditation. Get comfortable talking about it with your partner, with your friends. And if you're not comfortable doing that with your partner, you may want to write it down in a letter or something just to express, because communication is so important.
It truly is. My for years my wife has been putting out and like boldly saying to me like, do this, not that, and I'm like, okay, if that's what you want. Like, it's just I don't understand why people can't communicate about it in this day and age. I mean, literally, this world is so oversexed at this point that literally every little thing is about sex to some degree. It's
Right.
just how can you not talk about it? Like, I can understand older generations maybe being a little more hesitant about it because they weren't brought up that way.
Right.
But we were brought up, God, Room Raiders was a show I grew up with. And it's literally guys going through a girl's room and finding their drawer of toys and the girl talking about why she likes that toy. Like, it's just such an open world now. And there's between OnlyFans and Unfiltered and all these sites like that where men literally can just have virtual girlfriends almost. Like,
Right. Right.
how do people not talk about it? I mean, God, it's just it mystifies me to no degree that
Yeah.
people can't talk about these days. And I mean, if you go back in history, even it's just horrible. It's
Yeah.
history. If I think about sex in history, it pisses me off, like to a certain degree, because it's like, why? Why did it take to the 60s to really have people start talking about things like that?
Right. Right. And I even think about, and I'm actually just kind of studying this and taking notes on it as I discover things. I mean, I'm not full-fledged studying it. It's in something that interests me, and when I see something, I'll look at it. But what religion has done, and I don't mean being spiritual and having a relationship with God or whatever you believe. What I'm talking about is what religion has done to sex to control people.
Oh
I
God, yeah.
mean, look at all the concubines the kings had in the Old Testament. I mean, is there something wrong with this picture compared to what is taught? I just don't know. It's a big question mark in my head right now, and I won't be satisfied until I find the answers. That's why I'm always looking for them. But I mean, sex is a lot like finance. Both subjects are kind of taboo to talk about.
It is. They always said, don't tell people how much money your parents make. don't talk about religion, politics, or sex when you're at people's houses.
Right.
Like that's how you're brought up. And I mean, I never fall into any of that. I mean, personally, I mean, I maybe didn't ask my friends' parents how much money they made because I never really cared. But I gladly would bring up religion and politics, even the little bit I knew. I would bring it up just because I had to be that rebel. I had to be. But and I mean, I was that kid that got in trouble all the time for talking about sex when he didn't know shit about it. Like, and my mom would literally say to me, like, you don't know anything about sex. You're 11. Stop talking about it. And I'd be like, why? Like, why is it a bad thing to talk about? Like, it's natural. Yeah, I get you don't want your 11-year-old son talking about because you want him to have it. But other than that, like, what's wrong with it? Like, it's just the closed-mindedness of this world to this day.
Yes.
Makes me shake my head. It really does.
I went to visit my doctor and I hadn't seen him till just before I discovered this. And it was at the end of the day, so he had some time to talk. And we were talking about our travel adventures and some amazing experiences we had. And 3 separate times he stopped me and said, "You are so happy. You're so vibrant and bright." And I thought to myself, well, this is odd. I'm surprised he's saying this. So the 3rd time I finally said to him, "Do you want to know where it comes from?" And he gave me a questioning glance. And I told him all about this erotic hypnosis and how it had helped me. And he was just a sponge. He just couldn't hear enough about it. And then he said, "Keep it up." Well, and I mean, the other thing I said is, like, people are so afraid to talk about this. And he says, "Why?" And I said, "Well, you're a doctor. You're used to talking about it. But most people do not want to talk about it."
Which, I mean, to be a hypnotist in one of these sessions, I almost feel like you're one of those people that worked for a 900 number back in the day. Like, you're literally just kind of given scenarios that make the person get in that mindset while they're under. Like, I mean, am I wrong in this, or?
No, there's different scenarios. Some of them are more explicit than others. Some of them are more just to enjoy what he says. Others are more where you can create with what he says.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't imagine sitting there being the therapist in this, the hypnotist in this session without like dying laughing while I'm trying to say stuff. Like, I'd be sitting there like with the biggest grin on my face, like, yeah, okay. Now imagine this. Like, I've done over freaking text and messaging for years with girls I was trying to talk to, but that's different. Like, actually saying these things, like, even when a girl would be like, "Oh, can you say all those things on the phone?" I'd be like, I could try, but I might laugh halfway through and not be able to stop laughing. But because it's just like your mind has it that it's just like you become a little kid again. It's like it's like just so I don't know. But
well, I suppose that when he realized what he was doing and how it was effective, I imagine that he saw a really good benefit for it. In fact, it was probably last fall, no, August, I think it was, about a year and a half into this journey for myself, I asked him if he would collaborate with me. And turns out that he wanted to go in the same direction that I wanted to go. So we're working together to help other women in a more of a therapeutic way to achieve healing for themselves and whatever it is they want, whatever that healing means to them.
Which was it? So, do they do this for couples? That's actually the other question I was going to ask. Is there a therapist out there that will work with couples together for this?
That I don't know. I'll bet there is somewhere, though.
Because I mean, I imagine they could do this all remotely now too, like through Zoom or something like that.
Yes.
Like it doesn't have to be done in person. I wouldn't imagine, at least.
None of this has been in person. It's all been through recorded tracks.
Oh, so it's not even really like a live interaction with their hypnotist.
Right.
Well, I guess that makes it a little more, or I guess a little less awkward.
Yes.
The first time, at least. I mean, I don't know. I was actually picturing like someone sitting in a hypnotist's office, like while this is happening, and I'm like, that couch better be Scotch guard. But I mean, it's just that's okay. That makes more sense though. If it's all pre-recorded tracks, then people can just buy the tracks that work for them. I guess would be the
Right.
best bet.
I
So
know I know that he has done some hypnosis sessions like via a phone call, just voice, audio
yeah,
live, but not in person live.
interesting.
But that doesn't make it any less effective. Actually, it might make it even more effective because the visual is all what's in your mind and not your environment where you are or who
Makes
you're with.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, if because people, I mean, people have been pleasuring themselves in rooms alone since the beginning of time. So, or in
True
the
enough.
bar, or in the barn, or in the servants' quarters. I mean, depending what era of history we're talking about here. But it's just I've read a lot of freaking erotic novels. People, give me a break. And how long have they been researching this? Like, do you know that possibly? Like, how long have they been working on this?
That I'm not sure about. I'm not sure about. I know I've seen, well, once I saw this particular hypnotist, I thought, "Oh my gosh, this is a thing. Let me see what else is out there." And I found several other men that do it, and I found a woman that does it for men, and she has a lovely voice. To me, the other men were kind of creepy on the creepy side to me. I didn't like them. But the hypnotist I work with, I call him the liquid chocolate voice because his voice is amazing. And I just loved it. That's what really captured me was the voice.
Gee, I got a podcaster friend named Harvey who might have that voice as well. I should tell him to look into this for a career. But ever since I started working with him, people have always told him like you have a voice for radio. Like he has he has that smooth chocolate voice that like
There
people
you
love
go.
listening to. Like, I listened to his podcast so long, and like every time you hear his voice, just like, oof, like that's some very Manilow type voice and stuff. Like Jesus, like it's just, it's almost hypnotizing in a
A
way.
good
But
voice is a good voice for sure.
it is. I mean, people used to say that about me too before I started smoking, and then 15 years later, my voice is all screwed compared to what it used to be. Are there, but are there any like risks or problems people can run into if they do this either too much or not right?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think there's a way to not do it right. Um, of course, anybody can get addicted to whatever, but I think it would take quite a bit to be addicted. I mean, at first, that's what I thought was going on with me. I'm like, am I getting addicted to this? But no. But once I was filled, once I felt filled and happy and everything leveled off, and I didn't need to spend as much time with it, but I still
Hmm.
stay consistent to keep my levels, my energy levels where they should be. Because I can tell if I've been away from it too long.
Yeah, like you kind of feel the need to go back to it. Like
Yes.
kind of like when I was a teenager, I'd be dragged on. I would have to go on vacation with the family, and like you don't have your bedroom with your computer there, so it's kind of like you're like one day you're watching TV and you're like, oh god, I wish I could go take care of myself right now, but it just you can't. Like
Right.
I mean, yeah, I had people say before that I was addicted to porn, but I never thought that was the case. My personally, I mean, I would go there and do what I need to do, and I would go do something else. Like I wasn't one of those people that would watch it 24/7 just because I had nothing else to do. Like that's
Right.
addiction. I mean, if you're not trying to do it, if you're not trying to watch it 24/7, then I don't think it's addiction per se. Because
Right.
addiction is something you can't do that you're going to stop doing for a short period of time before you need to do it again. Like
Right.
I mean, at least from what I've read and learned. But so I don't know. I mean, sexual wellness is important. That's the main reason I want to have you on is because I do promote that.
Absolutely. It's
And
so important. I mean, it is, it fills you, it gives you your creative energy. And if someone's hesitant to think that your sexual energy is good for your creativity, have you ever heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill? Chapter 11 is about sexual transmutation. And that is taking that sexual energy, and when it's not used for sex, use it for creating and channeling it into other areas of life to create there. It's been around a long time.
Well, actually, I just thought of this. This is actually a question that is not. I'm proud of this question in a way. Um, is there a difference between the feeling you get from erotic hypnosis versus the feeling you get with a real life partner that knows what they're doing? And I'll emphasize knows what they're doing, because there's a difference.
Yes, well, there's a difference. And have you ever heard of Zan Perion?
Zan Perion. Can't say it rings a bell.
You might want to read his book called The Alabaster Girl.
I've heard that name.
Okay, he wrote that book. Zan is considered to be a seducer, but when I read his book, I felt so valued as a woman. And when there was a paragraph in his book that was just so beautiful, and I'm looking for it at the moment. It just made me feel so valued. But this one particular book, paragraph from the book, I'm so sorry I didn't have this ready.
Oh, it's all good.
There's nothing like dead air, right?
Well, let me put it this way. I came across an interesting article about erotic hypnosis for men,
Okay.
and some of the frequently asked questions on are freaking ridiculous. Like, there's literally in the frequently asked questions, there's literally men apparently have asked before if they can be kind of like a guinea pig for new things that the therapist wants to try.
Correct.
And I was like, yeah, you know she's not going to say yes to it. You know she's not going to. Like she's a professional. It's just men trying to get stuff for free, like always. But
Right.
Oh God,
I mean, it's all in how you allow yourself to interact with the hypnotist, right? So the thing is that you have to trust your hypnotist. And a good way to do that, even if you can't meet him in person, is to listen to the hypnosis track without engaging. Just sit down, eyes open, don't even, get relaxed. Just listen to what he's saying and see if there's anything in it that bothers you. For instance, like I said, there were different ones that were more explicit and ones that left more to your imagination. There are also some that have some BDSM tendencies or innuendos in it. So if you are someone who's more timid and not into that sort of thing, and that track has some BDSM things in it, listen to the track before you engage. Because in the beginning, I listened to a track and it kind of freaked me out, and I had to relearn to trust my hypnotist again after that. And it was my own fault because I knew I should have listened to it without engaging, but I just went for it and it was a mistake. But it's fine. It's fine.
I mean, BDSM is one of those fetishes that I personally can't get into. But I mean, it just, I don't know. I don't see the fascination with those, and it's a very special class of people that turns them on. That if that does it for you, then more power to you. But
exactly. And the thing is, I never understood it, and it always freaked me out that people could do the things that they do in BDSM. But then I found someone by the name of Orpheus Black.
I've heard that name.
And
I think I've heard that name.
Yeah, well, through him, I learned why people enjoy BDSM, and it made a whole lot of sense to me. why they do it. So it's not something I'm into, but it is something I understand more, so it doesn't freak me out like it once did.
It's a power play. I mean, that's what it is. Like
Exactly.
it's a mental power play, and you either want to be the master or you want to be the slave. Like that's
Mm,
basically what it is. And I've met women who fall into both categories, and I mean, the ones that want to be masters, they turn me off 100% because that's just not my style. But
right,
the ones that want to be slaves, I can kind of deal with. But
right.
I mean,
And a lot of, go ahead.
I mean, at least for me, my wife, it's more of like a mutual thing. Like she knows that if she tries to like become the master, like it's not gonna work. Like it's just like I'm just gonna be like, nope, he's going away.
Well, the thing is that someone who has a lot of responsibility in their normal day, like someone who might be an executive in a corporation, they might like to be the submissive at the end of the day because they're tired of being in charge all the time. It gives them a break and
You
something
know,
different.
it's funny because it seems like in all the TV shows, that's always who it is, who they find. Like when a mistress gets killed, all the clients that they go talk to are always businessmen who are like, I can't talk about this here. Meet me here. Meet me in my house later. It's always the way it is. I never thought about it that way, but that makes sense. Like that
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. Like
it does. It really does. It's like something they can just enjoy and not have to make a decision about. So I found the paragraph from the book, and you asked me if there's a difference. Well, here's what the paragraph says: every woman deserves a lover. A woman with a lover is transformed. A woman with a lover is more beautiful than she has ever been and more beautiful than she will ever be. A woman with a lover is always youthful and pretty, no matter her age. Everything about her, her countenance, her complexion, her composure is more alive, more bright. Her face shines and her step is light. There is something marvelous about her, and no one is quite sure just what it is. They can't put their finger on it, but oh, they all can see it. A blossomed woman draws the gaze of every woman and every man as she walks along the street. And I read that to my husband, and he looked at me and he said, I didn't do that for you. I didn't give you any of that. But I
well,
got it all from my hypnotist.
at least he's honest, your husband. But
Yes, and he doesn't get in my way because he has seen how much it has healed me and helped me.
yeah,
But he said, no, I none of that has come from me, and I know, which is
you don't gotta tell me, but
yeah,
I mean, see, I mean, it's funny because I grew up in a house where my mom and I grew up from a divorce. I come from a divorced house, and
mhm,
my mother cheated on my father multiple times because of this very issue. She wasn't getting what she wanted. She didn't realize that sex could be as good as it was
right,
until she cheated on my father. I mean, he may have been a little bit on the small side, not my genetic father, just saying. But I'm married, so I don't got to worry about women now. But still, I mean,
right,
it's just, yeah. I mean, she didn't realize because she was the typical girl that grew up in the 60s, 70s. Like, you save it for your husband, and that's all you have your whole life is your husband. And
yeah,
then it wasn't until 20 years later when she realized, oh, it could be better than that. Oh,
yeah,
that's new. That's interesting. But so, I mean, that's the kind of house I grew up in, and I heard these things at probably a younger age than I should have. So I, but it was a good thing in a way because it taught me to make sure you're pleasing your women, or they're going to leave you. Like that.
exactly.
That message has been in my head since I was a kid, since I was a teenager at least. But it's just so I 100% get it. I 100% get it. It makes sense.
Yay,
Well, cool.
you! That's really good that you get that. More men need to get that. I mean,
Yeah. If I
it's
if I didn't have the ED, I could have been Casanova. But when God gives you one thing, He wipes the other thing away. But that's the way I see it, at least. But But I'm happily married now, so I can't complain.
Good.
But
that's wonderful.
And hopefully she's pregnant. Hopefully, but is there anything that you want to tell listeners? Like, what would be your final parting words to listeners before we wrap this up about your advice? What would your ultimate advice be to any women who are looking into this?
You are so worth it. If you're not happy and you're not satisfied, you need to find out how to get that way. And if you don't know how to get that way, let me help you. I can at least help you get a start. And if it doesn't work for you, then maybe there's another avenue for you. Well, probably is. Oops. Uh-oh. What happened? What did I do? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you and see you. I don't know what you're referring to.
I don't know what I did, but you disappeared, but I'll find you real quick.
Well, I can still hear you, so keep going. It's all good.
Okay, good. Yeah, you are so worth it. Pleasure is not just something that's unimportant. It's very important. It's important for your well-being. It's important for your happiness. Make sure that you get it. I'm not asking you to go beyond your morals or anything like that, but talk with your partner if you have a partner. If you don't, then perhaps the erotic hypnosis is the thing for you.
Actually, yes. If you don't have a partner, do this first. Because you know what? If you're happy with yourself, the desperation to find a partner to meet that part of your life will not be needed, and you'll find a better partner.
Exactly. You're right. And, even partnered people have spiced up their love life by participating in the erotic hypnosis. So why not?
I mean,
why not?
I agree. And I mean, personally, the only way my love life is getting spiced up is if the kids move out somewhere, but they're too young for that. So, yeah, ain't happening anytime soon. I'm happy I get what I get, so I'm not complaining. But I want to thank you for coming on, Kim. It's been an amazing episode, and I can't wait for my listeners to hear it. I really can't. And there'll be plenty of people watching over the next month and a half till it releases anyway. So no worries. The video will be seen hundreds and hundreds of times by then. So, but where can they find you? Where can they find information on all this glorious stuff we talked about today?
Okay, you can find this. All of a sudden, I have an echo.
It happens on StreamYard.
At Desire DESIRE Focus FOCUSED.com. Desire Focus. We have a free hypnosis track and a booklet for you.
Well, I will, of course, put that link right in the description of this podcast, too, when it comes out as an episode. And that way people can just click on it and go. But I want to thank you for coming on. And all my listeners know where you can find me. So please, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're on Spotify or any other podcatcher, like and subscribe. Keep me going, please. I thank you. Subscription service coming soon, as I've been telling you for the last 2 months because I'm slacking. But it's coming soon. I promise. But thank you, Kim. And to all my listeners, I will catch you all next time in half a week. Have a good one.
And thank you.